What kind of person/personality can you just not stand? Always tricky though, and really depends on the level of shit they are talking. Parable, true story. People substituted. I had two grade school friends, both are great pals. Friend 1 has a bad habit of not returning borrowed items. Friend 2 has never been asked by Friend 1 for the items. Friend 1 not only borrowed a bunch of my items and returned them in rough shape if at all, but Friend 1 also borrowed from Friend 3, 4 and 5 and did the same thing. Am I talking shit about Friend 1? If Friend 2 says Friend 1 asked me for $100, should I loan him the money? And I replied truthfully, what about if it comes up because since I wasn't paid back I miss out on an event? See where I'm going? Real friends will talk a little bit of shit if you fuck up. Real friends keep each other in check. Of course, this all only is relevant if you already called Friend 1 and said, where is the money, man? I don't mind debates and differing opinions, but one friend of mine has to play devil's advocate with everything. Even when you're just trying to vent after a bad day, he'll try to turn it into a discussion about why your feelings are wrong. When called out about it he said he feels like he has to and the conversation would be boring if he just agreed. I don't get it at all. Have a friend like this. I started using lots of extreme words to describe her state of being when she would do this. Person A, I got injured today. One upper, oh yes, but what's worse is when I got injured because, me, your life must completely suck. I'm surprised you haven't died. After doing this a lot she has reduced a bit from one-upping. She still talks about herself, but the tone is more let me relate to you so you don't feel alone. I now don't hate her. Edit spacing. The specific kind of one-upsmanship I hate is when you tell somebody who asks how you're doing that you're feeling tired because you only got a couple hours of sleep last night or how it's been a long day at work and the first thing they do is say something like, oh, come on, that's nothing or that's not that much. I've done, insert their past credentials here, like, I'm not bragging or expecting something special when I say that I'm feeling tired or something like that. It's because I do, in fact, feel tired, and I don't need to have experienced fatigue at the same level you have for it to be legitimate. I'm just telling you about it because you asked how I was doing and I thought I could confide in you about it. All I'd like is a little bit of understanding, sympathy and encouragement. Even saying nothing at all would be better than the kind of stuff I listed in the first paragraph here. It's extra annoying when it's like invalidating your pain. Oh, you're sad 'cause your dog died. Well, my son died, so you don't know true sadness. Oh, you don't feel good because you have a fever. I had a kidney stone, so don't even talk to me until you've experienced that. It's like trying to one-up your pain by saying they've had worse pain. We all hurt. It doesn't matter how much. You're still allowed to cry over it. I got promoted to assistant manager the same day as an ass kisser who did absolutely nothing and always got out of work. I trained this guy and he was slimy and never wanted to actually learn. He'd spend his shifts talking to the managers while I worked my ass off. After promoted he'd stay in the back office and never on the floor where he was supposed to be and flirted with the new manager until he was promoted again. Literally made me so furious. I realized what management at this company was, a social club. I ended up leaving for different reasons. Disappointment overall in the company was up there as a deciding factor. I'm quite aware of my own personality faults and try my best to keep them under control, but every now and then I encounter someone else who's got a similar demeanor and personality and they're aware of it too, and we have to do this sort of mental dance of deciding who gets to be the obnoxious one, and who's gonna shut the fuck up. I briefly dated someone who had all the negative traits I had and it shook me to the core to change myself. Also dated a guy with qualities I thought I found attractive, young, quiet, romantic, into classical arts. Ended up really boring and awkward. I'm married now, not to someone who is not the exact opposite but who has good qualities and brings out the best of our better qualities and supports what we are lacking. I once attended a play with a college class. We'd studied the play that semester and went to see it all together as an assignment. A few of my friends and I wanted to grab a bite to eat afterwards, and this older dude that none of us really knew invited himself to come along. The entire time he kept talking about how easy it was for him to break down doors. Like he wouldn't shut up about it. This dude was at least 60. While the rest of us were in our early 20s, it was just weird. Me and the other two girls in the group excused ourselves to go to the bathroom and talk about how insane this dude was. Apparently he got about 10x worse when it was just him and the guys in our group, like now he really had something to prove. I feel the same way. Had this one friend, more of a classmate really, but hung out sometimes. But she would always say something dumb or just think things through on purpose because she thought it was a good quality. I often see these people say things like I'm ugly, I'm going to ruin the picture, or my voice is terrible, I'm going to ruin the presentation, just so we will call her pretty and say she has a nice voice. My older sister used to go on and on about how people who cheat on their partners are scum, and she loses respect for anyone she knows that does it because her ex cheated on her and sent her spiraling into a horrible depression. She would cut friends out of her life if they cheated on their partners. Makes sense. How did she meet this ex, though? He was in a common law relationship with her best friend, and she, my sister, had a year-long affair with him. I can't remember if he eventually broke up with the girlfriend cause this was a long time ago, but he ended up cheating on my sister with a bunch of women and then eventually had a baby with the girlfriend, which pissed my sister off. She always maintained that the affair was 100% his fault because he somehow manipulated her into it. When I was still really close to her, I noticed that she was involved in a suspiciously high amount of situations where a friend's husband would fall in love with her, the marriage would end as a result, and the wife would now hate her guts. My sister always acted like she couldn't figure out why all of her friends' husbands were in love with her. Many years later, she was going out for dinners with her now husband when he was still with his ex-wife. She maintained that they were just friends at the time, but I don't believe that at all. We had so many conversations with her going on and on about how horrible adultery is. She even refused to watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith because of what they did to Jennifer. I get that we are all a bit hypocritical at times, but this is something else. I haven't spoken with my sister on years. Edited for clarity. I know the kind. Their image is everything, so if you don't buy their bullshit they'll start spreading rumors about you to destroy your credibility. They wouldn't want anyone to trust what you have to say about them. It's satisfying when the image cracks though and everyone starts seeing them the way you do. It's a fast and fiery meltdown. I have the misfortune of having one in my friend group. He almost wanted to get into my pants. That didn't happen. So then naturally I'm the one who gets insults and passive-aggressive behavior, but since no one else is usually around during the worst of it, it's hard to believe because he sucks everyone else's ass so they think he's this great person. Doesn't help that every girl thinks he's a heartthrob and so suave. So yeah, I concur. To this day I don't trust charismatic people on principle. Me too. I have personally seen how charismatic people shape others' behaviors and opinions. Hell, I've seen these people completely fuck over someone else and a couple of weeks later that person is completely okay with them. All is forgiven and forgotten. I was sucked into their web too, but when I pulled myself away and watched it from the outside, it was like the Twilight Zone. Bruh, this is almost like my brother to my parents, because I have fairly high sensitive emotions and though I can cope with it better, my brother is always on my bad side. Like I can find him really annoying and what he does it hurts me extremely bad, but my parents could never listen or understand because they just tell me, oh, he's just your younger brother. He's just teasing. He's only 4 years younger than you, but I know that what he does it intentionally to hurt me or just doesn't think of the effect it has on me. Poor me. Types who whinge about how hard done by they are when they have everything they could possibly need or want. I knew a woman who never said a single positive thing about her husband, house, daughter, life in general. This woman had a devoted husband, a beautiful daughter, born from IVF. So a miracle baby in some ways, a house I would have given my eye teeth for, and a lifestyle of ease and plenty, and yet, every word coming out of her mouth was poor me. She constantly whined about her husband who didn't earn as much as her sister's husband. She even once moaned on and on because her little girl had contracted chicken pox, and one tiny pockmark on her face, not noticeable at all, had made her child ugly and ruined her chances of becoming a supermodel when she grew up. I could go on and on. I've noticed it's become a subtle way to brag about your personality, and they tend to make that aspect of themselves more relevant because they're somehow proud of it. I get it, and think they're smart, just think they don't take any shit, and are empathetic. For whatever reason the subreddit rises to R, all constantly, because I think they're really self-absorbed in their perceived intelligence. The super religious types that seem like they've lived under a rock their whole life. BC, they never converse with anyone outside of their church group. Edit. Also the preteen moms on Facebook that think they're some kind of hero. Nobody gives a f that you accidentally got pregnant at 17. Quit posting every single detail of your kid's life. Nobody gives a damn. Had an ex who would get mad at me because I couldn't predict the days he was going to be in a bad mood because of the energy. His friend, who I think he had a crush on or emotional affair with, could always do this by knowing different signs, and the arrangement of the moon and stars really made him feel like he was understood. It was such bullshit. As I've gotten older, I've become rather tired of people who insist on unloading as much of their personal information, identities, stances, baggage, and damage into conversations as they possibly can. About a week or so ago, while discussing a video game with a group of people, one person somehow made the conversation about their gender identity, sexual orientation, the abuse that they've suffered and their resulting mental illnesses, etc. Whatever they could scrounge out of themselves and throw into a group discussion about the video game that was completely unrelated to these issues, they did. The kicker was that they became upset when two of us asked that we keep the conversation relevant to the topic. Said two individuals were accused of trying to stifle, invalidate this person. They wouldn't stop trying to turn it into a pity party, so the only thing we could really do was ignore them unless they contributed something relevant to the discussion. I've got my own problems, and I get it, sometimes people need help. But read the damn room and don't try to make a casual conversation about a game about your problems. Get some professional help or ask to talk to a trusted individual privately for that shit. The worst person I've ever met was a coworker who wouldn't stop talking about grisly murders and brutal accidents in graphic detail during lunch. Not sure if that's a type of personality, but I dreaded lunch break every day, and that was while hating the actual job. Did you hear about the murder-suicide in next town over? Me, about to bite into a meatball. Her, they ran each other over with farm equipment. Me, mouth open, meatball still on fork. Her, it was just meat left, spread out on the field. They tried to separate it by DNA. That's how they found out about the incest. Me, putting my meatball back on the plate. Hey, I like watching Hannibal as much as the next guy, but mom, this is an office lunchroom. On the flip side, people who assume things about others just because they're fit or like to lift, work out. I've had two female friends tell me their boyfriends talk negatively about working out after simply seeing me and assume I'm a douche, and another overweight coworker tell another I used to do dips in the office. I didn't. The insecurity needs to stop. Money-dominated people. Think folks like Frank Fritz on American Pickers, antique dealers, realtors, etc. Hate them with a passion. Greedy fucks who want to get something dirt cheap, then turn around and demand a rebate, the item for free, and something to get thrown in. Overly bubbly altogether campers types get under my skin also. Too much saccharine and usually covering up for a sinister controlling personality underneath. Swear like a fucking sailor now and then. The worst people I have ever dealt with all had these traits. Couldn't stop talking about their college days at university and how prestigious their university was. Complain about things most of us consider to be luxuries, such as the color of the brand new car mommy and daddy bought for them back in the day, or the fact that their current vehicle has every option except air-conditioned seats. Had some massive inheritance early on in life and continue to brag about it since they have no mortgage and everything else is also paid for. Somehow they negotiated 6 weeks of vacation at the same company where you have 2, and they still get 8 weeks off per year to travel the world. Point out fashion faux pas as if it's a mortal sin. Talk extremely loud and public, especially if critiquing some random person or making a very bold opinion where you really ought to know your audience. Pretend to be your friend if they can worm something out of you. Have an overwhelming sense of undeserved arrogance. I get it, if you're the best in your field and you come with a little arrogance, okay, but when you are completely ineffective and usually cause more damage than anything else, you have no right to be arrogant. These people will stab you in the back without hesitation, will twist the handle and snap it off in there. They will then continue to act as if they are your friend until you are dried up and useless to them, at which point they will cast you aside like a stale Triscuit. Those who only like what's popular or trendy just because they're afraid of being irrelevant. Those Christians who are too nice, not smart, or are even hateful towards others. And I'm a Christian myself. Druggies who listen to rap music and talk and laugh like the rappers they listen to. And, of course, Karens and other entitled lunatics. Edit, I want to add SJWs and anyone who pushes you to do something even though you don't want to it, or even guilts you into doing it. Right? It's not a straightforward text, especially when it was written in 3 non-English languages, in ancient times, mind you, and includes figurative languages in many places. I wish that was stressed more. It is in my church and by one of former youth group leaders, but I think many still don't know that and still make idiots of themselves. There are some that come to mind for me. In Genesis, the original Hebrew word day was yom, which meant period of time. This means that the scientific statements that it took billions of years for the universe and world to form, or that the dinosaurs were real, aren't false or contradictory to Christianity. When Jesus said turn the other cheek, he wasn't saying never commit an act of violence, even if it's self-defense or for a good cause. He was suggesting a way of getting people who wrongly slapped someone in deep trouble. It was based on the idea that the left hand was unclean, and how you slapped an equal or a lower standing person, socially. The slapped would be placed between a rock or a hard place if they were to slap again. This was showing that just hitting someone back over something not too serious wasn't worth it. Fucking fake people who act nice to me at work. I stay professional, but it pisses me the fuck off. You can tell by that damn tone that they get, which sounds very condescending. I am there to work, make money and old enough to where really I don't give a shit what they think. They try too damn hard to try to make me think they like me when personally I think it is a waste of energy on their part. It gets pretty cringeworthy. Don't get me wrong, I do have people that I get along with at work that are very genuine in terms of being friendly. I get along a lot more with the older co-workers than I do the younger ones, which have been the problem. I am not calling out all of them because there are a few nice ones, but there are some. Probably the type of person who insults people outright and think that they are just giving their opinion. So my dad would always insult my brother like how he is too emotional and stuff. He has ADHD and autism. He would also keep on talking about how I should dress more girly and stuff, insulting my style and clothes and just saying that it's his opinion. English isn't my first language, so sorry if this doesn't make sense. Two-faced people. But a girl at work politely asked me to switch stations, and when I told her she needed to ask the managers, because we literally aren't supposed to be able to sign into someone else's station, she got all pissed off, went on about how it wasn't that fucking big of a deal, but there she was anyway, going from 0 to 100, told on her, cause I was not going to have my day ruined with her bullshit, and she later came to apologize. I was told she was uncomfortable around some guy, but clearly couldn't be asked to walk to a manger, but I couldn't care less about her fake apology. What would it even be for? Sorry I'm such a bitch. Interrupting know-it-alls. My God, I'm in medicine, And the number of people who come in and barely let me talk because they're telling me all they know is wrong with them. Oh, and the grown-ass adults who come in for a checkup, old enough to have sex, but somehow too amateur to say I'm concerned I caught an STD. In my job, we don't do checkups. Spit it out because I have a clinic full and no time play the guessing game.